David here with figbootonpens. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a vintage pen. Now, I don't own too many vintage pens, but this was a pen that was lent to me by my friend David, who I met through my local pen club. And the pen I have here today is a Sheaffer. More specifically, the PFM, which stands for Pen for Men. What I'm going to do is talk about some of the parts and the features of the PFM, tell you what I care for, some of the things I don't care for, show some measurements, some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. Sheaffer is a company that was founded back in 1913 by Walter Sheaffer in Fort Madison, Iowa, where he started manufacturing pens in the back room of his jewelry store. Through the 20s and 30s, Sheaffer released pens with a variety of filling mechanisms, like a lever one and a sackless plunger design. But then back in the late 40s, they introduced the touchdown pneumatic filling mechanism for his pens, which has really become synonymous with Sheaffer pens. And we'll take a look at it here in a bit. In 1997, Sheaffer was purchased by the French company Bic, who proceeded to close down the Iowa plant, and manufacturing was moved over to a number of companies such as China and the Czech Republic and Italy. And then most of their operations were moved to Slovakia. Bic had purchased Sheaffer for around $50 million, but in 2014, they sold it to Cross for $15 million. So in regard to modern pens, Sheaffer has seen better days. And it's a pen from one of those better days that I have right here, which is the Pen for Men, or the PFM. Now, I believe specifically this is the PFM 3, which was released around 1960. Now, there's many interesting features of this pen, so this review is going to be a little bit on the information-heavy side. The PFM was offered in 5 different colors: blue, black, green, burgundy, and gray. And due to the technical limitations of the injection molding at the time, these were just like solid colors lacking any texture. And obviously this is the black model. Let's start with the cap. It's squared off with the telltale injection molding mark. This mark is actually called a gate blush. The gate is a channel which the molten resin flows into the cavity of the mold, and the gate blush is the blemish in the gate area that's left of an injection molded item. Then we have the clip. Now, it is gold filled. Now, gold filled is a process where gold is actually bonded to another surface with heat and pressure. It's different than cold plating, which has a kind of a minuscule layer of gold that's applied and will generally wear off with time and really doesn't stand up to heat or water or wear. Then we have the trademark Sheaffer white dot. When Sheaffer started making pens, the original purpose of the dot was to indicate the pen had a lifetime guarantee. Some of their early advertising mentions this guarantee. In early Sheaffer models, the clip was actually a little bit lower on the cap, and the dot was actually above the clip. For a later pen, they actually moved the dot to right above the section. But that really didn't work because they came out with a vacuum filler, and because the dot is inlaid, they had to cut a hole in the barrel in order to fit the dot in there. And since the vacuum filler barrel held ink, it had a tendency to leak. So they then moved it to the end of the blind cap. And it was around World War II when the advertisements changed the wording of the lifetime guarantee from being unconditional to the life of the first user. And then a few years later, the guarantee was changed to only cover the nib. And finally, in the late 40s, advertising disassociated the dot from any guarantee, calling it the white dot of distinction, marketing as a mark of luxury and a symbol of satisfaction. And the dot, again, was moved. This time back to its original placement above the clip. And with the introduction of the PFM, the dot was moved to, again, from the top of the clip to the actual clip itself. And mainly this was out of necessity of design, since the clip goes all the way up to the top of the cap. And on modern Sheaffers, some models have a dot on the clip and some have it above the clip. And that was more information than you ever wanted to know about a little white dot. So the cap actually transitions from square to round. And right above this gold-filled clip band, it actually says Sheaffer's and made in the USA. And I don't believe it's engraving. It's more like it's branded with hot metal. As I mentioned, we have a very large cap band and a small step down to the barrel, which is actually perfectly straight, and then transitions into a squared off blind cap, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. The cap pulls off to reveal a feature first introduced with the PFM, which is this inlaid nib. This thing is just cool. On it is stamped Sheaffer's 14K, and there's a registered trademark symbol as well. At the section, at the end of the nib, it says USA, and I like that it just doesn't come to a point. It has a little diamond shape. And on some of the other Sheaffer pens, which use this inlaid nib, later on, it does come to a point, and then there's some that have a little ball in the end, and other ones that actually extend out more in a line. The section actually tapers up, and there are three little metal pieces which are used to actually hold in the cap. And that, it's nice because that even if you hold your grip way in the back, they won't be in the way. And if you do rest your grip on one of them, you could barely feel it. This section is very comfortable, and the design allows you to hold it as far back or as close up to the nib as you would like. It doesn't kind of force a grip like some pens do. Okay, now we have another very cool feature of this pen, which is the touchdown filling system, which is more commonly known as the snorkel. What you do is you just twist the blind cap, and this is kind of nice at this point when it is squared off, because it makes it easier to turn. And as you can see, as you twist it, the snorkel will extend from the feed. And then once it's extended, then the blind cap can actually be pulled. And you need to be careful and do this over the inkwell, because the act of pulling the tube filter back, the filler tube back, will actually expel a bit of ink and suck in a small amount in. And if you do it quickly, it could actually shoot ink quite a long ways. And so then what happens is then you push it down, and it will expel even more ink and suck even more ink in. Inside the pen, there's an actual sack holding the ink. You can see here a picture of the plastic section with the snorkel retracted. And here's what it looks like when it's fully extended. You can tell here that the tube is hollow, but it actually has something in there. There's actually a groove in the top of the snorkel that interfaces with the feed, and then this material in there helps prevent ink from escaping the snorkel tube via capillary action. Once you're done inking up the pen, you actually twist the blind cap to retract the snorkel, and you are good to go. The advertising they use to mark the PFM seems incredibly sexist compared to today's standards. After all, it is called the pen for men. Here's one where it actually talks about being a bold new design for men, and that the pen having a man-sized grip and a man-sized barrel with a massive ink capacity, and that the nib is built to actually take man-sized pressure. So, you better step back, ladies. This is more pen than you could ever handle. In retrospect, the PFM was widely regarded now as a classic in the golden age of fountain pens. But at the time of its release in 1959, it really wasn't very well received. In 1968, just less than 10 years later than it was introduced, the PFM was discontinued entirely. Although the filling system and other features of this pen appeared on many other Sheaffer pens. This pen sold for $25 when it was released, but in decent shape like this one is nowadays can go for like $200 to $250. Now, that seems like a big jump, but if you consider inflation, $25 back in 1960 is the equivalent of around $200 today. So the pen has basically maintained its value, which can't be said for a lot of other pens out there. So that's enough of that. It is now time for some measurements, some size comparisons, and then a writing sample. So here we go with some size comparisons for the Sheaffer's PFM. Here it is in regard to a Parker Vacuumatic, one of the smaller versions. And then here it is with a TWSBI Eco. And then here it is with a Pilot Metropolitan. And then in regard to some larger pens, here it is with a Malblock 146 and a Pelican M805. And then here it is with a Visconti Opera Elements Air. I still don't know why Air is brown. That just seems like an odd color for Air. I think that would be more Earth. I think the Earth is a little more yellow, and then the Air is brown. Just a little strange. So, you know what? I thought we would start with actually filling up this pen. The ink I have here today is something from Califolio. This is something I picked up from Van Ness at the DC Pen Show, and it's called Blue Atlantique. And this is what it looks like. And that it's a really nice blue. It's very similar to almost like Konpeki or something like the Iroshizuku Amairo. And it's almost like something almost in the same family like Naples blue. That it does have a decent amount of sheen around the edges, and so you do get some color variation, which is nice. And the bottle is the very same bottle that they used for the Diamine 150th anniversary, these triangle-shaped bottles. So I thought that I would start with actually filling this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our ink, and we're going to extend the snorkel here, and then pull it out, pull this out. Then we're going to insert it in here and go up and down a couple of times. And we'll see if I can get a shot of this, but you have to be careful. It does shoot a little bit of ink out there and then shoot ink out. I don't know if you can really see that or not, but ink does shoot out of this snorkel, so you need to be careful with that. So you just go up and down a little bit. Then you can shut the blind cap, which makes the snorkel go back into the body of the pen, and then just wipe that off, and we should be good to go. I didn't mention it previously, but the pen does post, and it does post securely. It's not going anywhere, and it's not a very overly heavy pen, so that whether you post it or not, it maintains a decent balance. So what we have here is the Sheaffer PFM. And this is a medium 14K nib. And the ink, as I mentioned, was Califolio Blue Atlantique. And I find that it's a pretty nice blue. I like it a lot. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. A little bit of a skip there. I have been writing with this a great deal, and that I really haven't had any issues with it. It might have been because I had flushed the pen out and maybe not let it completely dry in there. And also I'm kind of writing at an odd angle. But this is a very nice 14K nib. I don't want to press it too much, but you can get a little bit of line variation out of there. And I wouldn't categorize this as an overly wet nib. It's kind of on the medium side. And in regard to reverse writing, it's a little on the scratchy side, but doable. And then in regard to some fast writing, seemed to slow down there just a little bit, but then, like I said, that might have had something to do with me flushing this out. I hadn't had any issues previously with this. So I wanted to thank my friend David, for the loan of this pen. That the Sheaffer PFM is a really interesting pen with a lot of very cool features. I don't own a lot of vintage pens, and so it's kind of nice to be able to check something like this out. And it might be something that I wouldn't be opposed to picking up later, because it is rather interesting. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later.